past. I see that one, that it's not perfect. And again, I say I don't want perfect to ruin the enemy of good, to be the enemy of good, because the way that we've approached these issues here, and particularly with the way that this bill is situated and named and those kinds of things, one thing that we do know is we don't have a hate crime as it relates to the death penalty, even though we've had discussions about the electric chair and other things here in this session. And so I agree and support the changing of the language, because we should not put the case name into a bill, but also have some sensitivity to what the senator from Pickens was talking about, even though I'm not in agreement with how we end up doing it, because I think the underlying crime is the way that we should handle these matters first, as opposed to the aggravating circumstance first. I think that there may be a way to short circuit it. My concern, one, is that the length of a trial, if you're going to end up trying one under this circumstance, and the other one is a little bit of concern as it relates to the flexibility that we have from the prosecution authority. And so, understanding that we have only a few days left in session, though, I've come to the conclusion, after looking at it, letting an amendment pass by without reviewing it. I hope that those would remain open to that. I think that the authors have tried to do a good job putting that amendment together so that it can reflect what the intent of the subcommittee was, is to make sure that we can do it in a way that we can end up getting it passed. And so after having been a part of this for numerous years, I respectfully move that we move favorable report on this bill. I hope that we can take a voice vote and get it out of here, understanding that we're late in the session, reserving all rights, so that we can end up getting an opportunity to end up getting it passed, understanding that we only have 5 legislative days left, and maybe only 3 to end up debating this bill. So my motion is for favorable report, reserving all rights.
All right, motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
No, I'm not seconding.
All right, we have a second?
Yes.
All right, so now motion made and seconded, open for discussion. Senators left and right? I'll go left. Right. Loftus.
Let me ask this question. We've got 9 crimes in here specified. Are not all crimes, or most all crimes of passion, hate crimes?
Say again? Is it rhetorical?
All crimes of passion. I use the word all cautiously, but most crimes of passion are motivated by hate, are they not?
For instance, I'll give a try to answer that if you like.
All right, I'll give you an example, but go ahead.
So crimes in itself deal with the mens rea as to relates to a person's criminal intent, and I think that from looking at it, you can say that someone is mad or hate somebody to end up doing it. But basically, this one sets out if it's on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, gender, those kinds of things. I think a lot of times that we see in the criminal environment, criminal world, is that they're mad over a fight or over some other situation. And so they may get angry over some discussion. So yes, it could turn into that, but in general, no. So not all crimes would be classified under this particular legislation.
Well, an example, a woman stabs her husband, or her husband can do the same thing to his wife or lover, whomever, stabs him 30 times. That's usually pretty much a crime of hate, isn't it? A passion.
It's a crime of passion.
So what's the difference in the crime of passion and hate?
Well, it's not one of those. It's not one of those. It's one of those conditions, Senator. I think that's what you're trying to end up determining. For example, if you start thinking about someone talking about murder, that murder is intentional killing of another with malice or forethought, and so all of these things have meaning in the legal world. Killing of another with malice or forethought, which basically was explained to me a while back, is that you mean and you meant to do it. And so, as opposed to crimes of passion, a lot of times, which we would be characterizing maybe a voluntary manslaughter, which I've done killings that were. You want
to rephrase
that? Killing cases. Well, I speak from the position where I sit, and so when I say I did it, I did those cases in my life, And so, and I've seen cases where there are, 30 some odd stab wounds. We knew exactly what that was, and we've seen cases where it was retaliatory in a lot of those situations. But I think what we're trying to do in this is try to approach a problem. I give you one example. Senator Pinckney's case was not tried in state court. It was tried in federal court. The federal courts had hate crime law. If we look at it, we look at the other matters that was tried down for various cases, we'll see that they were tried in federal court because they had a hate crime law and the state court did not. And I think that this is an opportunity. I think that you've seen the folks that have supported it. It's unusual that we have those folks that would come out and support this legislation at such a time just like this. We drafted this bill a couple years ago in another way. I think Senator McLeod and I ended up drafting a bill. Then there was one drafted beforehand where we had drafted another bill. This is the first time after many years of culminating that we get to this point. And I think that the committee has done a pretty good job of trying to have a definition so that we can make sure that we target it. I think that the committee, which you will see, has made it very difficult. And I think that if you have to go try the underlying case and then come back and try the aggravated portion of it as far as a hate crime, I mean, you're gonna be pretty sure that this solicitor is trying to end up making sure that they send a message to the community, which is what we try to do in cases just like this. Whenever you want to send a message to say something wrong happened in our society.
Let me ask you this. Would not we cover the same area if we added as a motive for hate, as a aggravating circumstance, and it could be presented by the prosecutor and considered during the decision of the judge? Isn't that done now? Some?
I think that you have a lot of situations where there are aggravating circumstances, but most of the time it has to deal with contemplation, how long it took, how they planned it, those kind of things, which go to a long course of case law that deals with the mens rea. And that on the same hand, that those individuals where you don't see everybody get the same penalty is that the defense get a chance to end up having mitigating circumstances. And so if you're trying to say that there's a one-size-fit-all for aggravation and hate crimes, then the answer is simply that it is not. It's not even close.
All right, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be fairly brief. I'm opposed to this bill for the basic underlying premise that, two people can suffer the same injuries as a result of a crime, and yet one person in the sentencing phase, they're not going to be treated the same as the other person because of the supposed intent. I do understand that, the idea here is that if you commit a crime because you hate another person for a specific reason which society thinks is extra deplorable, then we're going to extra whack you. But it seems to set up classes of victims. Some, victims are apparently as a result of the other person's hate, they get, their perpetrator is going to be dealt with more severely or less severely. And I guess someone's mentioned this. I think this is just going to be another way to divide us. It's not going to unite us. Every crime that goes on, now the prosecutor, the solicitor's got to look into two crimes. Was there hate? And how far are they going to dig to try to find the hate? And is it going to be politically motivated as to which crimes get that extra prosecution? It just opens us up to just endless searching. And I guess I'd have to say, it seems like we're saying we're extra against this crime because you committed it because of hate. And going back to what the senator from Greenville here is saying is that I think there's a lot more categories that you could throw in there. For instance, street gangs routinely try to harm one another just because the other person's in a different gang and they hate that gang, and that gang hates them. So should gangs be a protected class here? Because and I'm being serious, I don't think it's right that you should just go out and, because the other guy's in the wrong gang, you hate his guts and you're going to maim him or kill him or whatever. Now, we've already spoken of political affiliation here, so that, you know, if you're wearing a hat or a shirt or something that identifies you as the wrong kind of person to somebody, that you're going to be protected. Well, we could do that about sports fans. You know, it's not so much a problem here, but in some parts of the world, you know, soccer fans, they'll kill each other just because you're cheering for the wrong team. So we're going to put sports teams in here. And here's one, too. I've got a problem with teachers who get assaulted in the classroom because students decide they hate that teacher. They hate that teacher, they hate that teacher, and then they assault that teacher. So should teachers be a protected class here? Because anyone who assaults a teacher, anyone in my mind almost has got to be doing it because they hate them. And so how many different classes are we going to create of people who get extra protection or extra, I don't know what you'd call it, extra punishment because their perpetrator did something to them and they fell into a protected class that we decided was good enough to put into the law? I think it's just endlessly divisive. I understand, you know, some of the motivations here, certainly I'm sure very, very good, but I do not believe that the basic idea can be fixed. And so I'm going to vote against the bill. Thank you.
Ebb,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and really quick, and I've got an appreciation for what the senator just shared, but I would point out when you asked the question about how deep does the search go, most of the time, what I've witnessed is that not very deep. When you look to Dylan Roof, for instance, and his manifesto, he made very clear that his intent in doing what he did was to start a race war. And quite frankly, that is the conduct that a bill of this sort is designed to address and hopefully deter.
Mr. Chairman. And finally, what will happen is that, you know, we have addressed this over and over again, and the senator is not totally incorrect, Senator from Anderson, because we address issues as it relates to teachers, coaches, you know, folks, and it becomes, you know, a class that goes on and on and on and on. And I think that what happens is that I think that this is a different situation. So with that, I'm going to call the question and proceed immediately to vote.
Mr. Chairman.
as amended.
As amended.
Senator Edgefield.
Mr. Chairman, I move to carry over the bill.
All right, all those in favor of, all right, motion made to table. All those in favor of the motion to table say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
It seemed clear, but let's try it again.
Can we just have a roll call?
Motion for a roll call,
Sandy, what's your-
second? All right, show of hands, all right, motion to table, raise your right or left hand, motion to table the motion to carry over.
Motion to table, the motion carried.
Motion to table?
Motion to table,
It means you want the bill to go forward.
right, all right. And Price Waterhouse is actively counting these right now.
Come on, Marty, hold up your right hand.
Left or right, whichever. All right, those in opposition, similar show of hands. All right, motion fails by a vote of 14 to 9.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, move favorable report.
Motion to table, the motion to carry over fails by a vote of 14 to 9.
Mr. Chairman, move favorable report, and I would may go as far as unanimous consent to use the same vote as a favorable report. Okay.
All right, all those in favor, I'm gonna,
Can we do a show of hands?
all those in favor of the motion to report as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition?
Show of hands.
All right, so a show of hands of those who support moving it out again with all reservations, because clearly, folks, this bill, if it's got to have any life, is going to be addressed on the floor. So I make no grand illusions of advancing this bill that it will have life, but again, that is the hope here. So those in favor of favorable vote as amended, please raise your left or right hand.
I want to ask a question about procedural.
Come on, Dick.
All right,
Left or right?
Point of order.
hold on one second, we're in the middle of a roll call, or whatever it is, a show of hands. Say again. They don't have it, but that was verbally given, and so. All right, those in opposition? All right. All right, motion favorable for 13 to 10. All right, next item on the agenda, item
Procedural question.
B, Rex.
Rex, you had a question?
You said B?
I did not fully understand the amendment.
Show of hands.
Tabling is just allowing the bill to continue on. Carrying it over is killing the bill.
Item B,
Hey, Rex, people that voted no for
It went to the floor.
You said B or D?
Mr. Chair.
B is in boy. And again, folks, if you're concerned about being registered, in addition to the video and those in the audience, please give staff your vote in opposition. But it passed 13 to 10. All right. Senators Young, Sabb, Bright Matthews, Garrett, and Johnson, Aaron, tell us about H 3696.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we discussed this at the last meeting. This bill increases the number of circuit court judges and family court judges elected in South Carolina. The bill would expand the number of circuit court judges by 3 by requiring an additional circuit court judge to be elected from the 9th, which goes from 3 to 4, the 14th circuit increasing from 2 to 3, and the 15th increasing from 2 to 3 judicial circuits. The bill would also expand the number of family court judges by 2 to 54 by requiring 1 additional family court judge to be elected from the 1st circuit, increasing from 3 to 4, and the 16th circuit, increasing from 2 to 3 judicial circuit.
All right. Senator Young or anyone on the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Subcommittee gave a favorable report as amended. Subcommittee added a circuit judge to the 2nd Judicial Circuit. There's currently one. It's one of only 3 circuits, or I'm sorry, 3 circuits in the state that have 1 resident circuit judge, and it's one of only 2 that has 1 circuit judge, period. One of the others has a non-resident, has an at-large judge presiding within the circuit. The numbers justify it based on the last 3 years' worth of numbers provided by court administration to add another judge to the 2nd Judicial Circuit. The other changes that are in the bill were in the original House bill. Again, it was given a favorable report by the subcommittee as amended.
All right. Senator Mark Bright Matthews? Wait a second. Mark, let me go to Senator Stevens.
Mr. Chair, thank you. A concern came up some months ago about a sitting judge in the Berkeley County area. Is that individual included in this particular increase?
The Ninth Circuit includes Berkeley. The Ninth Circuit's Berkeley and Charleston counties. And this bill would add a resident judge to the Ninth Circuit.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. Any other further discussion, questions?
Mr. Chairman, and as a consumer of this judicial service, is there any sort of data that would support adding these judges? Has anybody done a study? Are there backlogs that I'm not aware of? Or, I mean, it just seems right now with the pandemic backlog, nobody's actually doing jury trials, I don't think, in civil court yet. Do we know whether these are needed or not? Or is this just sort of a, I mean, is this again, another solution to a problem that doesn't exist? Or is there a problem? Anybody?
Senator Young.
Anybody?
There was data that was provided at the subcommittee level that justifies, we looked at it in particular as to the Second Judicial Circuit. For example, the Second Judicial Circuit has nearly over 8,000 cases, criminal and civil cases combined. It has one resident judge, no at-large judge in the circuit, and that's been for consistently for the last three one-year cycles, going from 2017, 2018 to 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020.
That the Second Circuit would be Aiken,
That's Aiken, Bamberg, and Barnwell.
right?
So that's one of the ones. That's the one that the subcommittee added. The other ones.
That would be, Senator, that would be, you participate in that circuit, right?
Yeah, I live in that circuit. Yes.
So you know firsthand.
Yes.
What about the rest of them?
The other ones, there are. I'd have to.
Already, I can tell you the 15th Judicial Circuit has a great backlog. We were 4 years back, even with the pandemic.
Right.
3 years before.
Same thing in the Berkeley County, in the Ninth District. Huge.
I mean, the 14th Circuit has over 10,000 cases in the 5-county region. It looks like fairly consistently. Currently has
And
2
that's
judges.
Jasper, 14th is Jasper.
Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper.
Okay.
All right, any other questions by Senator Whitewright?
Just a quick question. Senator, where would I find the information where that you're referring to regarding the numbers justifying?
I got it from court administration. I'll be glad to give it to you.
And what is the date on that report?
I have a chart that was provided by court administration, and it was it's got 3 years data on it: 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020.
Okay. So that's pretty recent report for this year?
Yeah, I mean, the 2019, 2020 numbers are the most recent numbers that are available.
Okay, because we know we didn't have much going on in 2020. I'm just, okay. Thank you.
Senator, did court administration request these new judgeships?
I don't know if they did. I mean, I know that on the one that we added in the subcommittee, the Chief Justice stated that he thought it was justified based on the numbers that they've put together. The other ones, he said that they would, if the General Assembly believes that these should be funded, they will put them to work. Now, whether or not they specifically requested it and sent it to House leadership, I don't know that answer.
All right, any other questions? All right, Senator Young, you have a motion?
Motion for a favorable report as amended.
Second.
All right, and your motion is to adopt the subcommittee amendment, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, motion made and a second to that? Second, all right. All right, motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
This is just the amendment, right?
Any opposition? All right, now, motion favorable report as amended. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. All right, I heard 4 distinct. Do we need a show of hands? No, we don't need a show of hands. All right. That will be advanced to the full committee. Now, item C, or to the floor, excuse me. Item C, Madison Falk. Come on down. Senator Talley. Excuse me, D. This one was
You say C?
D this morning, right?
Oh, wait. Oh, into D, okay.
All right, item D. Madison, tell us what we got here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As written, Section 1 would establish findings of the General Assembly. Section 2 would add new definitions. The bill would authorize retail dealers to deliver sealed packages of beer and wine for personal consumption and would authorize the retailers to themselves deliver such beer and wine upon payment of a fee and proof of alcohol liability insurance of at least $1 million. Delivery would be prohibited at certain locations, including churches, schools, university campuses, and within premises of on-premises retailers. The license providing for such delivery capabilities would be a biennial license and would be granted if the applicant satisfies certain conditions. The bill would also provide that each individual who delivers must be at least 21 years old, must not have a felony conviction within the last 10 years, and must undergo certification training. The bill would further empower retail dealers to market, receive, and process order for beer and wine using electronic means from a third party. Orders would be required to be fulfilled through on-site inventory and would be subject to strict requirements, including that no more than 576 ounces of beer plus 9 liters of wine could be delivered to any recipient per day, may not occur to an address outside the licensed premises zip code or a contiguous zip code, and delivery may only occur inside the hours during which sales and consumption of alcohol are lawful. In order to receive delivery, the recipient would be required to present valid photo ID, provide a signature, be at least 21 years of age, and not be intoxicated. The bill would also empower the Department of Revenue to impose a monetary penalty upon the retail dealer or delivery service non-compliant to the section instead of a license suspension or revocation. This bill is almost identical to S-525 with very minor verbiage differences. There is an amendment from the subcommittee, and I can explain that now if you like, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, that amendment would combine the curbside delivery bill, H-3575 and H-3772, to provide for curbside delivery and delivery of alcohols, including liquors.
And that was a separate bill before, correct?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman.
And that passed the House as well. Okay. All right, Senator Talley, let's hear from you, and subcommittee members Clymer, Sin, Hutto, and Matthews.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Madison did a good job describing what this does. As you just indicated, these were 2 bills that passed the House that the subcommittee combined into one. There is a change, which we spent most of the subcommittee talking about. The delivery bill as written limited delivery from a licensed location to the zip code of that location and any contiguous zip code. We took that out, and then as was mentioned, we added liquor as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions, Senator Cash.
Just clarify a little bit. I guess let me ask a couple of questions. Does this mean that a grocery store can deliver the beverages to your home, or that, and does it also mean, or is it just that there's a designated parking place outside the store where you can park and they can deliver your groceries to you? I mean, what, does it cover both those?
It sets up a license for both.
All right, so they can bring it to your house, or you can drive by the store and park and they can bring it out to you. Is that
Right. As
is
long
that
as
what
it
this
meets
is?
the criteria in the bill. Right.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll just make a few comments.
Well, I want to
When
save
it's
them.
time.
Save them for
Whenever it's time.
questions.
Sure.
All right, are there other questions?
I have a question.
All right, Senator Malloy's hand was up.
And my
so-
question is that you know, of course, I'm not on any of these bills on the subcommittee level, but if what do we do about the radius and the statewide issue? Because I'm trying to see what for the last few days to see where does the rubber meet the road on these bills. Because at one time I thought that alcohol was out. I mean liquor was out. So liquor's back in now.
Yes.
And is it the radius or is it statewide?
There's no limit.
There's no limit. You guys might want to reconsider that.
Well, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, as I said, that dominated a lot of the discussion. As it came before the subcommittee, it was limited to the zip code of the location and any contiguous zip code. There was discussion about a mileage limitation. Some of the testimony was for both, or you know, one for, one against. In regards to the zip code, what we were told is that was mainly arrived at by beer wholesalers who were concerned about particular wholesalers in certain areas of the state becoming the source of delivery to the exclusion of other wholesalers, and so they looked for that limitation. Others that were in this delivery service, you know, talked about the fact that folks in that business are going to look at this and make a business decision as to how far they want to go. You know, I gave an example about a grocery store that's 3 zip codes away, but is literally 10 miles down the road. So that was the discussion. I understand the point. There is no restriction in this amendment.
Just a clarification of what Senator Malloy was asking about. Liquor was out, but now it's in?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
One of the things I discussed, and you know, it's unique when I guess a lot of you live in metropolitan areas and you talk about all this competition, but for the most part, a big grocery store or liquor store is only going to be in the county seat in most of my counties. So just saying the contiguous zip code doesn't get everybody. And you get ready to plan your wedding or order food for your thing on the weekend or whatever, and you're 20 miles away, you might be 2 or 3 zip codes away. I just thought it was unfair. What we heard was the merchants aren't going to deliver it any further away than it's justifiable for that. If the cost is too high, they're just not going to deliver it. But just arbitrarily pick a zip code and a half doesn't do anything for rural counties. Okay, it might if you're in the middle of Columbia or Charleston, maybe 2 zip codes is somehow important to you. But if you're in the counties that I represent, you need the whole county basically to be in the radius of your grocery store, or it isn't going to matter. If you're going to, like my parents live 20 miles away from a grocery store, but they order their stuff from Food Line. If my dad wants to get a 6-pack of beer and y'all put a 2 zip code away, he ain't going to get there. It's just too far if you're in a county. So that's why I supported the statewide, because what we heard testimony was these folks aren't going to deliver it any further than it makes sense to deliver it. It's just going to be cost prohibitive to deliver too far. But to arbitrarily pick a zip code or 2 zip codes or whatever, just let the marketplace decide this, and I think we'll be in good shape, particularly if you represent a rural county.
Question. Senator Harpootlian.
So, as many of you know, I've had issues with the distribution of alcohol in my community, primarily in saloons. I am concerned. I mean, curbside I get, and it doesn't give me a huge heartburn because there's control over the premises, and law enforcement, SWED. Now we're going to ask SWED to enforce this. As I understand it, neither SWED nor DOR testified in the subcommittee. Am I correct about that? So this is going to create, you know, a just law enforcement nightmare. If they're going to have to follow, I've got an amendment that tightens up the reporting, but still, who's going to audit that? DOR? They don't have enough people to do the job they've already been assigned to do. SLED, they don't have enough. They got 21 agents in the Midlands doing alcohol enforcement, and they don't get to most of these establishments but once every 6 months. I've got grave concerns about anybody being able to enforce this. So while I think the intent is good, I think curbside limits the distribution to the place that is licensed to sell it. But once you put it in a car and let it be delivered somewhere, and I understand there's all kinds of bells and whistles in here, but what does SLED say? What does DOR say? Who's going to enforce it? Is it going to take more agents? How many more agents? How many more DOR people? And by the way, as I've distributed to our subcommittee on the another bill, the folks, the court you take this to is the administrative law judges, and they've only enforced the DOR or accepted the DOR recommendation in 19% of the cases since 2014, and have gone lower than that recommendation in 81% of the cases. So, look, I like a drink as much as anybody else, and after today, I'm going to like it even more. But wait, I'm not done. I was mid-sentence. Pardon me.
But is it a Senator Cash-like speech, or is it a question of?
Well, am I asking a question
not be
or
rude
am
to
I
him?
giving a speech? I thought I was speaking to the bill. I'm sorry. I just have huge problems with this inability to understand what the enforcement implications are going to be. So I'm going to vote against this bill, and if it gets to the floor, I'm going to oppose taking it up in the next 5 days, unless those questions are answered.
Thank you, Senator Sinn.
Having sat on the subcommittee, I did notice a couple of concerns. Some are minor. First of all, I don't know why we've got 6-year-old data in this particular bill. I guess that's left over from when we dealt with the Total Wine case years ago. But also the fact that we are now granting a new category of license for the deliverers, yet they do not have the possibility of getting their license suspended. And I always question that. I don't care about a monetary fine. If you've got a group that's continually going to somewhere selling underage or whatever, DOR needs the ability to suspend them. And also, if I can, I understand Senator Hutto's concern about, well, he lives in a county where, there's not that many places you can get beer. That's a choice. It is. I live in a county where they don't let me have chickens. I don't like that. I wish I could have chickens, but I don't. But in any event, what I really think is not right is that we have, basically this bill came before us with the understanding that the stakeholders had come to an agreement. And what the subcommittee did was totally eviscerate the agreement by taking out not only zip codes, they didn't even address any type of mileage limitation. So for us to pass this as is, you may as well give Amazon even a bigger crown than they have in the marketplace. Basically, Amazon will wipe out the mom and pops if we do not place some type of restriction as agreed upon by the stakeholders. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do I understand this bill to allow 18-year-olds to go out and serve 21-year-olds, provided they're not under the influence? Am I reading that wrong?
Where are you reading, sir?
It says that under section 61-445A.
Which page? I'm sorry.
It goes down to 4.
Page 1.
Page 1. Page 1. Under 4, requires the employee delivering sealed containers of beer and wine to a customer's vehicle to be 18 years old or older. Are we in the wrong one?
Yes, sir. And the reason I'm asking, Senator, the intent was, and I thought we had language in here that anybody delivering had to be 21.
Okay. So that has been changed to 21?
The amendment that's before us, and I'm looking at Madison, the way we defined, if you were an employee of a delivery service, as is defined in the bill, you had to be at least 21.
So an 18-year-old can't deliver.
Yeah, that's the top of page 6 of the amendment.
I've got it right there. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, question. Would this bill allow Uber Eats, Uber to apply for a license, and then Uber would be literally allowed to deliver alcohol?
Uber drinks.
Uber drinks, basically. It would allow
They
something
meet
like
the
that?
criteria set out for a delivery service, yes.
Chairman, it's the first time I've seen the bill, and I'm not sure why we need it. From what I can tell, people seem to be able to get as much as they want to drink right now. I do have a friend, who got T-boned by somebody who came out of a bar and just was so drunk when the police got there, they couldn't get out of the car. And so I'm a little concerned about curbside service and 18-year-olds determining whether the person in the seat's drunk or not. And because if you're real drunk and you can't get out of the car to go in the grocery store to buy something, it'll be pretty obvious. But if you're drunk and you're sitting in the car, it might not be quite so obvious. And if we've got people who are trained servers who can't distinguish who's drunk and who shouldn't be served anymore, and they're sitting right in front of them for 2 hours drinking, and yet we're going to let 18-year-olds just walk out the door and give alcoholic beverages to 21-year-olds sitting in cars and make that determination. That to me doesn't seem to, that just flies in the face of common sense. Now, it is the first time I've seen it. I'm almost more happy about the part about delivering it to people at their home, because at least those people won't be on the road, as opposed to the curbside people picking it up. I'll just end by saying this. I appreciate my friend, the senator from Richland, and the bill he's had one subcommittee on, trying to curb the abuse of alcohol, which I think is something we're all concerned about, the abuse of alcohol. And I find it hard to believe that we are going to take this up on the floor before that bill's taken up, because I think he's asking some very honest questions about the law as it is currently written, that we need to deal with as a body before we deal with expanding out access to alcohol even more than we already have it. Thank you.
Anyway, y'all weren't here, Senator Gustafson, but to at least make it less palatable, I would make a motion that we prohibit cold, again, I don't know what technical term, ready to drink. I mean, somebody's going to turn up what they want if they're going to abuse it, but at least chilled from a grocery store, a beer, whatever place that would have this. So, Madison, help me with what language, and I can offer that on the floor as a technical amendment. But clearly, I share the concern, but if we can add a chilling both of the desire and the beverage, that would help me. So, Senator Malloy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm trying to, obviously, I'm trying to figure out now, grabbing it at first glance, when I see these folks that buy these distributorships and this kind of thing, and I realize that this probably doesn't have much of an effect on the 3-tier that we end up talking about before, but how does it work for those that have franchising in certain areas and that kind of thing when you start answering the question that someone mentioned, could someone else do it through Uber Drinks or whatever? So, you would have people that would buy a distributorship and they'll have a certain territory. How do you address that whenever, I mean, we're just gonna disrupt that, and that's fine, we just need to know it. And I think that the other thing is that we're gonna have statewide, I mean, obviously, we start talking about ordering alcohol. I mean, I don't know that it affects the country a lot because the folks, they don't have broadband out in the country, and those are the issues that we gotta end up addressing. And so, last point is that why are we making it statewide so we can have some big conglomerate to come in and just take over the whole industry? There's about 3 rhetorical things that I said.
Yeah, let me start with the last one, and you may have to
Sure.
remind me of the other two. I think that's the point we touched on earlier, is economically, that is not likely to play out now.
Said who?
Well, the delivery service people that testified this morning, the retailers that testified that could offer the delivery service as well, they're not going to go that far from their location. The concern that kept coming up was, an Amazon or a big box type thing. They're playing in this space already anyway. And so that was just a policy decision that was made
Sure.
at the subcommittee level.
Sure, I remember someone did talking about beer whenever, I think it was Pabst or one of those groups tried to lower their beer to end up cornering the market, and all of a sudden they start looking at it as a sub-tier beer. People would do a lot of things, and maybe that's wrong, but they'll do a lot of things to end up gaining market share. And so that includes lowering the price. And if you can lower the price until you can gain the market share, and then you can raise the price and do whatever you want to with it, that's a concern. So I think that we have to end up making sure that we go in with all eyes and ears on an issue like that, not from just those people that testified in front of you.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I think that concern would probably manifest itself more in those that got into the delivery service arena, not as much on the retail level.
All right, Senator Loftus.
Thank you. I have a quick question for Senator from Spartanburg. You mentioned Amazon. They deliver constantly now. I'm assuming they are not delivering beer and wine now?
Not in South Carolina.
Not in South Carolina, okay.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, because Senator from Pickens, I got him all bothered. You can have wine shipped in to South Carolina now, but your question was specific to Amazon, so that's what I.
Yes, and again, I'm just curious, if we're worried about the competition from Amazon, you're going to have more competition because they're going to be doing it, right?
If they took the steps that the bill outlines, they could do that.
They can do the same thing. Okay.
To kind of elaborate on that a little bit, one of the questions or one of the issues raised by the wholesalers was Amazon would absolutely be getting involved in this type of delivery. And the problem is they only have several packaging centers in the state. So what are they going to do? They are going to purchase from the wholesalers closest to those packaging centers. So you're going to impact all the other wholesalers around the state that are not close to an Amazon packaging center. Not to mention the mom and pops.
All right, Senator, anybody? All right, we have a Senator Talley. You're the sub-chair. All right, and you have an amendment before us? All right, and again, beverage temperature, again, we'll figure that out. I think there's a technical amendment I know that we're trying to get to conform between the liquor and the beer wine subsets, but yeah. All right, so we have before us the subcommittee amendment as reported, and your motion, adopt that. Is there a second to that motion? Senator Hutto seconds it?
Yes.
All right. Motion made, discussion now on that subcommittee report. And I will tell you, I have some concerns about this. Again, a chilling side, the geographic boundaries here, and I will be offering those on the floor, again, in hopes of at least allaying my concern. So, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
No.
All right, I think we need a show of hands here. All right, motion for subcommittee report as amended. Those in favor, let me see a show of hands. Y'all here know what? All right.
It combines it. Oh.
All right. Those in opposition, same show of hands. Leonard's loser, not in a close one. The subcommittee report as amended. And the vote is
So you
nine
telling
to,
on me?
wait a minute, we got a double counter over there? We got voter fraud? No, sir. We got voter irregularities?
All right, Trump.
All right, motion fails 9-14. Senator Talley, you have another motion.
All right, Mr. Chairman, so that, that leaves before us 3772, which is the standalone delivery bill. All of the provisions we have described, but it does not include liquor in the standalone bill.
All right, and that is curbside, or that is the?
3772 is delivery only.
Okay.
Delivered, not, there's no, where's curbside?
It's the other bill.
3772?
Yeah, and just for clarification, Mr. Chair, what the
All right,
amendment?
folks, y'all listen up if you will, I'm sorry.
All right, the amendment combined the curbside bill, which is 3575, also on the agenda, into 3772. 3772 standalone, based on the vote we just had, is a delivery bill only. 3575 is
Why don't we,
curbside.
let me do this. Let's take up item C, 3575, and in fact, let's take them both up separately. And then again, any amendments we can consider on the floor. Senator Talley, again, item C is the curbside delivery of beer and wine.
That's right.
Only.
That's right.
All right?
Mr. Chairman, that's curbside delivery.
Which exists under present law, state of emergency, for beer and wine only. It does not include liquor, correct?
That's right. Not delivery, just curbside.
Curbside only.
3575 is curbside only.
All right, is there a motion for?
I have a
Question on that? Well, let's get it up first. Motion, favor report, seconded. All right.
second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Again, folks, we're going to reserve all rights here. All those in favor of taking up, and there's no subcommittee report, is there, Senator Talley? All right, so. On the agenda, C and D. Yeah, so the.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
We were on D.
Only beer and wine.
It just failed.
I'm free market. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Senator Hutto.
Unanimous consent to take up H 3575.
All right. Senator Talley.
So are we on,
What are we on?
Was to try and go to curbside.
so we're still on 3772?
What now?
We're still on 3772?
Took it up in subcommittee combined. It's
Go to item D again. What, and so the question here and the confusion for those who are not on the subcommittee, what did your subcommittee take up this morning?
We had both bills on the agenda.
Okay?
We took 3575, put it in the amendment that was just rejected to 3772.
All right? Senator Malloy.
Why? I mean, just trying. I'm not trying to be cute
No,
about it.
I know you're not.
Hold it. I'm just trying.
And I'm not
because-
either. We're trying to
because-
move it as one
because it's
bill.
confusing. It's
Yeah.
confusing for us to try to prepare for this, and so I'm trying to learn this as I go along, and so I was thinking I was going to be voting on something that did not include alcohol, and then all of a sudden,
Liquor.
I mean, I keep saying alcohol. I call alcohol liquor. I call beer. I call wine. Hard liquor. And so now what you're telling me is that since we didn't get the other one, it did not pass subcommittee because you combined it into the other
That's right.
bill. Now you want to bifurcate it, separate it back out, have it as a standalone bill that you all did not consider on subcommittee, but you have had testimony and stuff on it before.
Including in, I believe, 2019.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, so I would stand back. I think it's the chairman's choice. If the chairman wants to take it up, I'm okay with it. But I think that what happens is that I think that we have to be able to be prepared for these.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Chair, obviously, as I just mentioned, going back to 2019, the new part to this, but for obviously the new members, is the delivery piece. I think we took up the curbside bill in 2019. Provisions of that were basically put in place under the emergency order and have been in place and are still in place. So that is the language of 3575. But that's where we are.
35.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Massey.
C, okay.
Mr. Chairman, if we're just talking about the curbside delivery of beer and wine, I got no problem with that. Although I will point out this. I'm a little bit frustrated with the Department of Revenue. What they're doing is not legal. I mean, the fact that we're talking about a statutory change to allow for curbside delivery means they don't have the authority to do it under an emergency order. The Department of Revenue, more than other departments, has been abusing the emergency powers in a number of things. And I'm more than a little bit frustrated by that they just do whatever they want to do. And I think that's a problem. We're going to have to address that at some point. The department just decides they want to change something, or the governor just decides he wants to change something by executive order, and they just do it. There is no statutory basis to be doing what's done right now. And I got no problem with what's being done right now. But the fact that we're debating a statutory change means that it requires a statutory change. And the department and the governor can't change statute. So I'm fine with passing the bill. I think we ought to get it done to allow for this stuff to continue. But I'm very frustrated by the executive branch's continual just flouting of the law. And this is one of the most egregious examples of it.
And to your point, Senator Massey, and we've been here, done this, and not to put it back on you, but I agree. And this is the bill that, I don't know whether Senator Cash authored this before, but we continued this, perhaps not formally, but there's a sub that can take this up with like-minded people, I think. So I don't disagree with you in the overreach. And I'm not going to recognize the Senator from Richland to talk about DOR any further. If you haven't heard from it, there are lots of video clips you can, anyway, no disrespect, but so lovingly. Senator Talley, again, it's the will of the committee. I obviously wasn't on the sub, but we have before us. So the question is, there's a motion made to take up a bill that was not acted upon or was acted upon this
Took
morning.
testimony, but did not vote upon it as a standalone bill.
Okay, so
That's 75.
is there, all right, there's a motion made to take up 3575 in the full committee that was not acted upon, but that has been talked about for the last 45 minutes.
Second.
Is there, all right. Is that a unanimous consent request? Any objection to that? All right, there being none, Senator Talley, on behalf of the subcommittee.
I'm happy to answer any more questions about it, but what's before us now, I'd ask for a favorable report on 3575.
All right, motion made.
I got a second. and I-
Second, all right, question by Senator Harpootlian.
Let me make clear that I understand what we're doing here, not that it's your fault, but I think in a hurry to get things done, everything got jumbled up together. This bill would authorize the illegal conduct that's occurring right now, which is the curbside service for beer and wine, correct?
It would make the illegal legal.
Make the illegal legal, which is what we try to do every day. You know, I'm very vocal. I'm very vocal about my antagonism to the distribution of liquor, and I'm against home delivery, but I am vociferously supporting this provision. If that makes any difference to any of you who think I'm Kerry, whatever name was.
All right, motion made, seconded. All those in favor of, again, giving 3575 a favorable report without amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, there being none. All right. Or there being some. There being some. I'm sorry. All right. Senator Talley.
All right, so that brings us back to 3772.
Item D.
Which is the delivery bill of beer and wine only, and it contains the zip code restriction for the location, the zip code in which the location is licensed, and any contiguous zip code.
All right, without an amendment, correct?
There's no amendment to it now.
All right, Senator
Mr. Chairman,
Harpootlian.
move to carry over.
All right, Senators, will you withhold that?
I will.
Senator Stevens?
Right, so if you're a retailer and you offer delivery, you can do it within the zip code you're located or any contiguous zip code.
For example, Orangeburg County, 70-something miles away. If I do it in Richland County, how far can I go into Orangeburg?
Depends on the zip code. It's solely based on the zip code you're in and any contiguous zip code.
Let's carry it over.
That's why we took it out, but that failed.
I don't understand what's going
All right, so we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I raise a-
Hold on one
a
second. We
point.
got a motion.
Point of order.
For a favorable report. We now have a motion to carry over. We have a point of order. Senator Malloy.
So my question is that my point is that, well, Parliament inquiry first, 3772 was defeated as amended.
The amendment to it was.
Amendment 2.
So the amendment was defeated, the bill was not defeated.
Correct.
Okay, and so now the amendment is out, and so you went back to it.
I'm explaining the bill as it came to us.
So we jumped around on the agenda for it to occur, and now we're back on it without a subsequent motion. Or we just at the end.
No, there's a motion for a favorable report.
Motion to get back to it, right?
We've
It
already,
was next on the agenda.
It's the last thing on the agenda.
And then a motion to carry over.
everybody is unclear as they need to be. All right, so, Senator Talley, you had a motion for a favorable report.
Of 3772.
All right, and hold on, was there a second to that motion? All right, there's a second. Now, before us, Senator Harpootlian has a motion to carry over. All right, all those in favor of
Not on carryover.
all those in favor of carrying over, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
All right, that is a very distinct no in the minority. So that motion carries to carry over.
Great.
All right, any further items on the agenda?
Yes.
Senator Talley, yes, you've got another 4006. Item
This is
E.
This is beer only. There's no amendment. This is a provision that was put in place last year for the local beer brewers, microbreweries, that allowed them during the pandemic to basically sell twice the quantity that they were previously permitted to sell. All this does is extend that another year to 2022.
All right, y'all heard the discussion. Any questions of the Senator? Chairman?
Move adoption.
All right, motion made for adoption. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it, and again, there is no amendment, correct?
That's right.
All right, that will be reported out favorably. Any other items, Madison? Great work. Thank you all. We're stand adjourned.